Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of Chakra-Care for the Creative Soul. I'm your host, Pollyanna Blanco, and today we're going to be diving deep into the energy of the blue moon, a powerful time for release, discernment, and true self-care. Today, May 31st, 2026, we're under the rare and potent influence of a blue moon. This isn't just a beautiful celestial event. It's a cosmic invitation. The blue moon is a moon session, a time when the veil between worlds thins and the power of Isis begins to remember Osiris. It's a symbolic reintegration of scattered fragments, a bringing back into harmony of what was once broken. This blue moon also regulates Saturn's karmic tides, showing us where our fears, restrictions, and limitations lie. It's a beautiful opportunity to transform those obstacles into a strong foundation for our growth. Many of us are familiar with the full moon rituals, crystals, tarot spreads, oracle cards, all beautiful ways to connect with the lunar energy. And while rituals have their place and can be helpful, there's a crucial difference between ritual and self-care, and that's what we're going to unpack today on the show together. Rituals, when used without self-care, can sometimes lead us to look outside of ourselves for answers, waiting for someone to tell us what to do. But true self-care is about checking in and reconnecting with your body, your heart, your soul, and your inner child to see what they truly need. This empowers you to trust your intuitive knowing, fostering interdependence rather than dependence or spiritual bypass. True self-care is about showing up for yourself even when it's uncomfortable. It's about blessing what comes up, thanking it for its lessons, and gently releasing it. I just went to do the show live about 40 minutes ago, only to find out that I had some mic issues. So here I am again, a little tech wiser and gently releasing the blessing of the gift of gradually refining my tech skills. So happy to be back with you. The blue moon is such a potent time for light workers and empaths and creatives like yourself to release the need to earn love. That's a wound that so many of us carry, feeling we must prove our worth to be loved. It's so endemic and it's so subtle at times. And this beautiful full moon is inviting you to dissolve that pattern if it's been a pattern for you and embrace your inherent worth. And here's the key. And if you only take one thing away, from the show today, this is the gem that I really feel from my heart to yours called to share with you. Self-care, restoring the sacred to your self-care, is the fertile ground where dreams are born. You cannot birth your deepest visions into the world from a place of exhaustion, fear, or, most importantly, self-neglect. True self-care is about showing up for your inner child, tending to your nervous system, and releasing old patterns. That is the work. Those essential first steps help you to bring your creative dreams into being. At the heart of this healing is our inner child. When our physical needs are met and our inner child feels safe, then our nervous system can finally relax and we can create. But when we're triggered, our nervous system can go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And each of these responses is deeply connected to our chakras. And when we're in that dysregulated nervous system state, all we're creating from is default patterns rather than conscious creativity. And this creates an experience of being in the world that can be really difficult at times. So you might be asking yourself, How do I know if my self-care is truly working? How do I stabilize my energy so my dreams can actually land? There's so much out there in the world right now about manifesting, courses and whatnot. And the truth is, we're manifesting all the time. We're creating all the time. It's just, where are we creating from? And this is the key. And it's not just about raising your frequency, because this is where spiritual bypass can come in. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that with you on the show today. But simply put, the answer to the question, how do I know if my self-care is truly working? How do I stabilize my energy so my dreams can actually land and take root? The answer is really simple. It's coherence. Plain and simple coherence. Coherence is when your thoughts, feelings, and body are in harmonious alignment. It's a state of inner stability where your chakras aren't just open, they're resonating together like a perfectly tuned orchestra. When you're coherent, your emotional frequency stabilizes, your energetic field becomes clear. And that's when your dreams stop being distant visions and start becoming tangible realities. Because creation doesn't happen in chaos. It happens in coherence. Another way to think of it is a ritual performed in stress is like planting a seed in dry ground. It might sprout, but it struggles. A ritual performed in coherence is like planting a seed in rich, moist, fertile soil. It thrives. Your self-care isn't just about feeling good. It's about tuning your frequency so your soul's blueprint can manifest without distortion. This is why your chakras matter. Each one is a gateway to a different aspect of your field. When they're coherent, your entire being becomes a stable vessel for your dreams. And just a little sidebar here. If you're ready to deepen this coherence and anchor your creative power, I've created 2 pathways for you. I'm just going to mention them briefly now. They're in the show notes below. My Sacred Self-Care Vows will help you commit to your inner alignment with clarity and love. They're my gift to you, from my heart to yours. Just download them. They're instantly yours. And I also have a 90-minute coherence reset if you're looking for an actual experience to shift your energy within 90 minutes that will help you to stabilize your emotional and energetic field, claim your creative clarity so your dreams can finally take root and bloom. This is so much more than a ritual. This is coherence and connection and sacred self-care. This is about what you have inside of you, connecting with it and letting it reveal to you what you most need, as opposed to someone telling you to do X, Y, and Z on the new moon. That's the difference. That's the magic. So all that being shared, and they're in the show notes below, they're my gift to you. The 90-minute coherence reset is a very low energetic exchange. Now I want to talk to you about some common signs that your chakras and nervous system might be holding on to old patterns on this beautiful gateway moment with this full blue rare moon, so that you can then practice a few simple self-care approaches to help you release them. So here are some symptoms of, and signs that you're holding on to old patterns in your nervous system is, really dysregulated. And I'm going to offer you some simple self-care suggestions to help you to release them. Okay, so your root chakra, and we're going to focus on the 7 in-body chakras today. There's many more chakras than that, but we'll go with the classic 7 in-body. Your root chakra, which is located at the base of your spine, right on your sit bone area, is all about feeling grounded and safe. When you're noticing that you're feeling threatened or unable to move, this is when your nervous system is signaling that you're in fight or freeze. And you might be noticing that you're feeling ungrounded. You're noticing that you're anxious or fearful. Maybe you're worried about your finances and just disconnected from your body. I mean, I know there have been so many times where I was dealing with root chakra issues, and one of the signs for me was bumping into furniture, like just not recognizing as I was turning a corner that I was cutting off the edge of a desk or something like that, and the bruises were there to just gently nudge me to pay attention, right? So something that's very helpful is to really connect with your breath through a grounding breath. Very simple. You can do it right here, right now, as I'm sharing this with you. You can inhale through your nose for about a count of 4, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for about a count of 6. And as you do so, you can imagine tree roots extending from your tailbone into the earth. You can send gratitude into the earth, and you can allow yourself to also receive loving nourishment from the earth through those tree roots. It's a beautiful practice, very simple and very powerful. You can even extend this practice by walking barefoot outside on the grass or on the soil and really feeling that connection to Mother Earth herself. You can use this visualization out there as well. The earth has a Schumann resonance, which you may or may not be familiar with. And much like an octave on a piano, there are 8 subtle frequencies in that Schumann resonance. And just even simply intending that you're connecting to it. I do that every single morning, actually, when I'm in the shower, asking to attune to the Schumann resonance and allowing it to help me to feel safe, held, anchored, grounded. It's a beautiful practice, right? Another thing is to eat red fruits, and also even just be mindful. Notice if you're being drawn to eating apples or berries or beets, that is sometimes even subconsciously a magnetic pull towards certain red types of fruits and vegetables, because we're seeking to be more grounded, right? Your sacral chakra, which is your second chakra, which is all about creativity and emotion, is in your lower abdomen area, just above your root chakra. And this chakra is also about your relationships, both to yourself and to other people. So if you're noticing that you are retreating, withdrawing, isolating, or avoiding certain conversations with people, even procrastinating, or on the flip side, you are people pleasing, you're caring more for other people and the world than you're caring for yourself, then this is a sign that your nervous system is going into flight or fawn. And you might be on one end feeling emotional numbness or seeking ways to find emotional numbness through compulsive behaviors and addictions, whether it's food to, emotional eating, or, repetitive, work, or you name it. There's so many ways we can do this, both in profoundly obvious ways and very subtle ways, right? It's just what's the motivation behind why we're doing things, right? Being attuned to that. You might also be feeling overwhelm, emotional overwhelm. And at the same time, it's a creative center, and yet you might be feeling blocked creatively. You might not have any new ideas. You might be feeling like nothing's really lighting you up anymore. You might also be noticing that your relationships are strained or disconnected with yourself and with others. And you might be having difficulty expressing your feelings. If you notice any of these things, it's all good. It's all fertilizer for the soul. They're just indications that this energy center needs a little more TLC. And one self-care suggestion for that is to take a warm bath if you can with sea salt. And you can visualize emotional residue just washing away. You can also do that in the shower as well too. Or if you can get into a body of water, all the better. giving yourself permission for creative expression, dancing, painting, writing, or singing without judgment. A lot of times people say, I can't sing or I can't dance. But what if you were just to sing or dance, like no one was listening or watching? Whether you consider yourself a painter or not, just move some paints or some watercolors around on a canvas. Write something, write a poem, write a song, or just doodle even, and just allow whatever wants to come up and through you to do so, and just be more curious than critical. You can also enjoy some orange foods like oranges, juicy oranges, carrots, and sweet potatoes to nourish that energy center. Your third chakra, the solar plexus chakra, is in the upper abdomen, just in this area here. And it's all about your personal power, identity, and confidence. So if you're finding you're getting irritated or angered very easily, you're also feeling possibly anxious, or you're noticing that you have a need to control things. This can show up as, negative self-talk, that loop of critical inner self-talk, which doesn't help, us to have the self-esteem, that we really want, right? It can kind of keep us feeling less than or not enough or too much, that kind of stuff. The control issues can show up as our expectations about how others should respond to us or should be, and or even how we control ourselves, right? Like sometimes we have all these expectations that we pin on ourselves, and we can be very rigid with ourselves and very demanding of ourselves and put a lot of pressure on ourselves. These are control issues, right? And they're there because they're trying to, keep us safe, and yet they do the opposite, right? They actually create more problems and challenges. This can lead to digestive problems as well too, because we're not really able to fully digest and integrate our experiences because we're in this push-pull within ourselves or with other people. And this can also lead to difficulty making decisions, right? Because when we're conflicted within and there's a tension within us, and we are trying to get clear on something, it's like we're like driving forward with the parking brake on, essentially. So some self-care suggestions for your solar plexus chakra would be to do some gentle, mindful type movement practices, whether it's the sun salutations and yoga poses that activate your core, or a Pilates move, or just simply like placing your hands on your belly and affirming to yourself, I am powerful, I trust my intuition. Because right now on this rare blue full moon, whatever you're focusing on, like if you want to release old patterns, that's great. You also need to focus on what you want to co-create instead, because your dreams will meet you at the energetic frequency you're living from most of the time. And the more you can stabilize that by not being in this push-pull mosh pit dance with yourself and others, and nourish that sense of respect, consideration, kindness for yourself, and then that's where you tap into your true power. It's not something that we find outside of ourselves, as we've been so programmed to believe. True power comes from that inner mastery of recognizing that what you identify with is really important. Like if you identify with people who are, you know, going on about, things that don't feel truly aligned to you, then you got to ask yourself, what's motivating me to continue to engage in those spaces and places with those people? Oftentimes, so many of us these days are going through identity shifts, right? We're rebirthing. This year of the fire horse is like next level. Wow. There is so much rebirthing going on. And at the same time, when we're in that transition between an older version of ourselves and a newer version of ourselves, an expanded version of ourselves, there's residue from the past. And so it can feel a little uncomfortable to claim I am powerful, I trust my intuition, or something along those lines if there's still an old residue inside of us that doesn't quite believe it or buy it yet. And yet making the conscious choice to commit to that while you do the other work is what helps to create that restoration of balance, because our thoughts become things. We can't do it by thought only alone. We're not just thinking beings, we're multidimensional beings. However, that being said, what you think about the most, and they say we think about 30,000 thoughts a day, is what we nourish our field with, right? So sometimes while we're uncovering those unconscious, subconscious beliefs and patterns, the affirmations are the counterbalance to what we're unearthing, right? What we're releasing. So tune into those yellow foods. Maybe add some lemon to your water first thing in the morning to make your body a little more alkaline, because acid is like anger is acidic, just the way, and creates those imbalances, right? So bananas, add some bananas to your smoothie. Turmeric, you can pop some turmeric into your smoothie as well too. Things that dial down any inflammation in your body. And anger is an emotional expression of physical inflammation too, right? Okay, let's move on to your heart chakra, the fourth chakra. It's located in the center of your chest. It's all about love and compassion. And you might notice your nervous system response is showing signs such as it's easier to overgive and neglect your own needs. And this is very common for light workers and empaths because we're so other focused. And this is a learned pattern that we adopted in one sense, and yet it's also our beautiful strength in another. It's a bit of a mix of both until we unwind some of that. I know in my own journey, I love to give to others. And at the same time, if I got really real and honest with myself, giving to myself felt a little uncomfortable. And so I've been learning how to strike a balance between the genuine desire to give, because it feels so good to give, and the discernment of when it becomes overgiving. And the key is it becomes overgiving when you start neglecting your own needs. Like you need rest, but you still say yes and do something for someone else. Or you're hungry, but you take care of someone else's need to eat and deny yourself food. This is where it tips into an unhealthy form of giving. And you might that this difficulty giving or receiving can lead to all kinds of other issues, such as grief, isolation, or resentment. And I'm getting a note on my screen here that the connecting. Okay, I'm going to just circle back because I just got a note on my screen that my connection was lost and was reconnecting. So I'm going to just go back a little bit. We're talking about the heart chakra here. Center of the chest is the location, and it's all about the love and compassion we have for ourselves. If you find yourself overgiving and neglecting your own needs, you're in that fawn response. That's your nervous system expressing its dysregulation. If you're noticing that it is difficult to give, it's often because you've been overgiving and you haven't been giving other people the opportunity to also give to you. Because one of the things we can do as empaths and light workers is we care so much about other people having what they need that we don't take up any space ourselves. We don't ask for what we need. We don't show up for others in that way, in terms of taking up space for ourselves. And so that can lead to this imbalance of, giving until we're burnt out, and then we haven't been receiving, and then the stories come in about, no one gives to me like I give to them, and then this can lead to, having nothing left to give, and then, feeling deprived, and this can lead to grief and sadness, a sense of loss, and even isolation, and of course resentment, because we're going about giving and receiving love from a distortion field. And I say that with the utmost of compassion and genuine curiosity and care. And I invite you to do the same, because one of the big reasons, and so many of us in our modern world in this day and age have dysregulated nervous systems. It's more the norm than it's not. And this is what we're healing collectively together, is that our dysregulation is what creates the distortion. So we misread cues, we misinterpret things, we see things through a certain lens that actually is not entirely often accurate. And so one of the greatest antidotes, one of the greatest self-care suggestions I can give you, if you've been noticing any of these patterns and you want to release them today, is to use a little bit of heart-brain coherence. Place one hand on your heart and the other on your solar plexus or your forehead, or wherever you're guided intuitively. Just trust that to place it. And breathe in deeply for maybe, say, about a count of 4. And then allow yourself to exhale a little bit longer, count of 6, whatever feels comfortable and right for you. And imagine a green light expanding from your chest while you feel, and this is the key, you got to feel. You can't just think about it. You got to feel into something that brings you gratitude. Really allow that gratitude to infuse every cell in your being while you see this green light expanding from your chest, filling your whole body, every cell, your energy field. And you can send it out as far as feels comfortable, and just bathe in that beautiful high frequency green light. You can add some pink light in too if you feel called to do so, and even some gold light. Your heart chakra is also about tending to your inner child. Notice how you speak to your inner child. A lot of us have habits and patterns that have become so automatic of dismissing, minimizing, ignoring our inner child, and this is, again, learned behavior. It's conditioned behavior. And one of the ways we can begin to repair that relationship with the inner child is a way we would repair any relationship with anyone, right? Is to consider, and even by asking, how, like, if you catch yourself saying something harsh to your inner child, or denying your inner child something she really, really wants. It could be ice cream right now. The weather's nice, right? And you sense that she's upset or she's acting out. Ask her how the way you just spoke to her impacted her. Ask her that. And she may not respond, depending on what age she is, she may not respond in a rational adult way. Obviously, she's a child, but she may give you a symbol or a sign or an image. Trust that. Feel into that. It'll make sense if you really sit with it. And then ask her what she needs from you. Ask her what she needed from you that she didn't get in that moment where she was upset. And when you're first working with her, she may tend to turn her back on you, or kind of give you the same treatment you were giving her. You've just got to be really patient, and she'll come around when she senses that you're sincere and deliberate and consistent. Another thing you can do is invite those green foods into your diet. Enjoy some leafy greens, some avocados, and some cucumbers. Let's move up to the throat chakra now. This is your center of listening, communication, and truth. And I emphasize listening. So many people emphasize communication. I really feel it is a listening center. We often speak so much more than we listen, both with ourselves and with other people. And a nervous system response that is being activated often in the center is that if you're in that kind of silence where, not that sort of solitude silence, but that silence where you're swallowing your words, you're not speaking up, you're just, muzzling yourself, or conversely, you're people pleasing, you're fawning, you're in freeze or fawn, you'll notice it's because you might say one thing and mean another. You might say yes when you truly mean no, out of fear of judgment or rejection or not belonging, or just simply standing out in a way that feels uncomfortable to you. You might even have frequent sore throats. So really notice with your throat chakra, especially this particular blue full moon. It is a blue full moon, right? That's your throat center. And it's about expression. And it's also about truth and getting really real with yourself about, trusting what's coming up for release. What patterns are you done with? Have you received the learning from? And now you'd like to integrate that learning and just release any more of that. You put your stake in the sand and just say, enough is enough. I'm ready to move on from that and expand in other ways. A great way to really do this is some self-care suggestions are to do some vocal toning, hum, chant, or sing to release the tension in your throat, like physiologically. Oftentimes people have, throat, neck, ear issues when there's tension from swallowing or crying, or smiling when you're crying inside. I did that at one point in my life. That was really a slippery slope. Another thing is to journal, and you can write down your unspoken truths. Sometimes what happens is when you journal, right? Because yes, we want to speak our truths, but one of the things I've learned through my Reiki training too is about really discerning when to share things with other people. It might be that you feel inspired to share truth, but is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it relevant? And one of the best ways to get clear on that is to take some time to journal. Now, I got to confess, I'm not a big journaler. I have friends who are huge journalers, and I really admire them for it. What I tend to often do is do a voice note, and then I listen to myself a day or two later. Writing is also very powerful, whichever speaks to you. And the key point being is that if a day or two later, or a couple of hours later even, you discern that it's still important to speak that truth to someone, you're going to be approaching that conversation from a very different embodied awareness than if you just blurted it out as your truth, because you will have had a chance to reflect on it, and most importantly, feel seen and heard by showing up for yourself first. You see, I feel like we get ourselves into sticky situations with other people when we react and we want to share our truth in the heat of the moment, and we blurt it out without considering how it might impact someone else. And it's often to get them to understand us. And I'm going to underscore that. It's to get someone else to understand us. And that oftentimes doesn't go well because that's that control issue again. It's the expectation that by saying my truth, my version of reality with you, you'll see the light. And if you don't, then there's going to be a conflict, right? Or there's going to be pushback. When you share it from a place of having felt seen and heard by yourself first, you're not sharing to get anything. You're sharing it to embody the truth, regardless of how someone may or may choose to respond to it. And I think that's the key discernment, right? And of course, you can include some blue foods into some yummy blueberries. Spirulina is another beautiful nourishing sea algae. Okay, moving on to the third eye chakra between your eyebrows, your intuition and vision. And your nervous system response that it's dysregulated and that there are patterns to release on this blue moon are things such as overthinking, escaping into abstraction. That's a flight response. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the crown chakra. But signs of imbalance are things like getting confused, second guessing yourself, questioning everything, running to everyone else outside of you and asking them, what should I do? Doubting yourself, physical headaches, and feeling disconnected from your intuition, your inner guidance, or distrusting it. So some self-care suggestions for your third eye chakra are to simply intend, see, sense, imagine a beautiful violet purple light between your eyebrows, expanding with clarity. You can add some indigo to it as well too. And just hold whatever question you have in that light. The violet fire is a profoundly powerful cleanser. It dissolves any distortion, any karma. And karma essentially is just patterns that we get stuck in, right? It's not a punishment. It's not any, I don't see karma like that. Karma is just another way of saying those patterns, those distortions. It's a very, if you think about ultraviolet light and where it falls on the light spectrum, it's very high frequency. And so it is very cleansing energetically. It removes charges that are not supporting us. Like as a magnified healing practitioner and teacher, that is something even long before I became trained in that. I worked for 3 years intensively with the violet flame about 20 years ago or so. And the results were miraculous. A lot of very powerful patterns were dissolved just by simply visualizing. It's a cosmic cleanser. More to be shared in another video with you on that down the road. I do have an old video from a long time ago on this channel if you want to check it out. I didn't link it in the show notes, but I'll add it in hindsight. Of course, dream journaling too. Keeping track of your dreams to access symbolic insights is another great way to practice self-care, like noticing what you're dreaming about, getting curious about it, keeping track of it. And you can also invite in the purple foods, eggplant, purple cabbage, and grapes. The key is to really understand. Okay, I'm going to change the word understand because that feels too mental. To receive is what I want to share. The symbolic meaning in both your dreams that you have at night and in the signs that you notice as you move throughout your life. Because oftentimes, it's the mind of form that looks for the reasonable, logical answers to things. The answers from your soul, from your heart, are often metaphorical. They're symbolic, they're archetypal. That's how they surface. And this is why when we're too much in our heads, we can oftentimes easily miss them, right? And I really don't want you to miss them because they're juicy rich. They require maybe some quiet time to be present and to sit with them and to feel into your body in terms of how you're receiving them. That's where chakra dance is such an amazingly powerful and beautiful process. It's one that I've been working with for years with clients, both in person and over distance. And it's something that if that's of interest to you, let's hop on a call because I can share more with you about how that can support you. It's a beautiful way. Okay, let's move on to the crown chakra now, the top of your head. It's your cosmic connection and the source of your enlightenment, recognizing that you're so much more than a physical being. You're a multidimensional being having a divine experience here on earth as a divine human in form, ultimately. And if your nervous system is dysregulated, you may find that you are checking out, in other words, as known as dissociating or spiritual bypassing. spirituality is such a beautiful dimension of who we are, and it expresses in so many different forms. It's how we make meaning out of the moment. And there are sort of quote unquote conventional ways that we see as being spiritual. At the end of the day, everything is spiritual. You can't separate this from that as being less spiritual or that as being more spiritual. And recognizing, though, that source of connection as a return to rather than an escape from. You see, when our nervous system is regulated, our spirituality nourishes us. It nourishes that connection. It helps us to remember that expansive source self that is sort of encased in this physical body, right? But and at the same time, we're so much more than that. When our nervous systems are dysregulated, that spirituality can become a beam me up Scotty kind of experience, like an escape from. And it's because it's an escape from emotional states that are maybe too overwhelming to experience. So again, have compassion for yourself. Disassociation is something that if you've experienced trauma, it leaves an imprint on your energetic field. And trauma comes in many forms. It comes in the form of, severe things that happen, rape, incest, war, all kinds of things. And it comes in subtler forms. It could be as a child, you were feeling emotionally overwhelmed and there was no one there to help you move through those feelings. And that leaves you feeling scared and alone. And so one of the ways often people cope with that is they shut it off. They disassociate from their body because being in their body feels just too overwhelming and too painful. And so this is where it's interesting. There's this dynamic between the crown chakra and the root chakra. They are a tag team, if you will. We want to experience a grounded connection to our spirituality rather than that beam me up Scotty version of it, because that's where we want to bypass the shadow, the emotional stuff, the past imprints of pain, skip over them to get to the, surfing moonbeams and rainbow state that feels so much better. And yet it's all here to serve. It's just, we need to give ourselves the grace of knowing that we are supported through it all and in so many different ways and being open to it. So some self-care suggestions are to sit in stillness, to focus on your breath, and to allow cosmic energy to flow through you. That being said, though, sometimes when we're in that spacey state and we're not grounded, there can be another side to it where we feel squirrely. And that's because we're also not grounding that energy. We're tapping into this high frequency energy, and it's nearly short circuiting us because we have to be able to hold that electrical energy. And we're literally frying our nervous system with our spirituality, with the high frequencies that we're inviting in. And so what's really important to do is to recognize that movement can be a beautiful way. You can still move in stillness. I know it sounds like a paradox. This is where the chakra dance comes in too. Being outside in nature is grounding. So going for a walk in nature barefoot or just dancing on the earth, feeling that you are part of nature is something that a lot of people on a spiritual inner awakening journey talk about. When we're disconnected from nature, we're disconnected from our own divine nature. Nature's not just a backdrop. And then people talk about being in nature. When we're talking about self-care at this stage with your crown chakra. It's about opening yourself up to being a part of nature. And when you connect to that sense that you're a part of nature, that the sun, the moon, the stars, and you are just as equally important, then there's always so much love and support around you. Like you're not isolated or separate from any of it. And you can even look up at the night sky and connect with the vastness of the universe and know that you're an important part of it. So, inviting in those white, clear foods such as water, because water, is a great way to, as you're releasing stuff, is a great way to like release the charge, especially alkaline water, release the charge of anything that you're clearing away energetically. Coconut water is great for your electrical system because of the electrolytes in it, and it helps you to really have that water balance in you. Charging your water too, whether it's coconut water or plain water, charging it with love, with gratitude, sending your intentions into the water, and then drinking that in as an elixir. And of course, white rice. What I would say is avoid the white sugar. That's a dopamine hit, right? And that is, again, a way of dampening those emotions or controlling them or using addictions to distract. So the high frequency things like water, coconut, use your discernment. You know where I'm going with all of this here. These are the things that you want to invite in if the crown chakra is what's really calling your attention on this full rare blue moon. So just remember, everyone, having talked about the 7 chakras, this blue moon is a moon session. It's a time to remember Osiris, to reintegrate disharmonious powers into harmony. It's also time to regulate Saturn's karmic tides, transforming fears and restrictions into a strong foundation for growth. So here's the thing. Instead of seeking external rituals, turn inward. That's the invitation. Show up for your inner child today. Bless what arises, release what no longer serves you, and let your creative soul shine with the light of your true worth. And like I shared earlier today, I know this is a much longer show today than some of the other shows. I just felt so guided to deep and anchor your creative power. I have created 2 pathways for you. My sacred self-care vows will help you. It's completely free. It's my gift from yours, from my heart to yours. Just click the link below in the show notes and you'll get instant access to the PDF along with the 8 sources of creative abundance. And if you're looking for an experience to support you yourself, 30-minute Coherence Reset is a low ticket offering that is a way to emotional and feel so your dreams can finally take root and bloom. It's going to offer you that creative clarity from within rather than from someone else. And that's going to be the most divinely empowering experience for you, especially supported by the energies today. Here we go. I just want to share a quick little video about the 90-minute reset. So here we go. Thank you so much for joining me on Chakra-Care for the Creative Soul. Until next time, keep breathing, keep creating, and keep loving yourself unconditionally. Lots of love and light, beautiful creative soul.